coming from my microphone, I can tell you that. I would imagine it's some laptop or something somewhere.
You got the big boy microphone.
Yes, I do have the big boy microphone today because this is what I'm used to working with, and I really don't like those Sportscaster headsets, and this is my comfort level right here. The only thing that I had to give up was my in-ear buds, so
Your butt in your ear, or your ear in your butt?
something along those lines. But at any rate, we're so glad that you could join us today. And I'm wondering if that's where I'm hearing that from. That would be from Zoom, by the way. I want you to know that we have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to have in the video presentation of this show is going to be Lynn Beckwith. She is with Beckwith Car Care.
Up in Humble,
Off
off of Old Humble Road. Well, really, if you just get on 1960 and go.
That's way too much information. We're going to have her on the show.
She can explain it.
Yeah, we're going to have her on the show, and then Jeff is going to do his magic out in the driveway.
Magic.
And you can just use your imagination as far as the magic is concerned. We're a couple of minutes late getting on. We had everything all set up, and then we don't know what happened, but at any
But we'll
rate,
blame Conrad for it.
blame Conrad.
Well, because I was in charge of it.
That's right.
And I'm okay.
All right.
Wouldn't be
Well,
the first time I've been blamed for something I did wrong.
But anyway, it's a car show, and we sure appreciate you joining us. Our once-a-week faux pas of cars on the air through Facebook and on InWheelTime.com and through YouTube, we think. Oh, God. You know,
Periscope.
And
Don't forget
Periscope.
We're on Periscope now.
You know,
And we're working on Pinterest.
Nice.
That way, when we start doing the home
and
decorating again.
here's the nice thing
And
about
Instagram.
This, and here's the nice thing about this whole setup
Is he can
I
turn
can turn that off, and you and I can talk, and so we can actually have a car conversation here, you and I, Jeff. So how have you been?
Good. Good.
Here, let me take care of that again. So I'm glad that you're here again this week because we're going to try again this week to perform what we tried to perform on the air last week, but it didn't work too well.
And what was that, Dom?
That would have been Mr. Marr's phone, but I don't want to belittle all of this. But anyway, so Jeff's got some very interesting things set up for us today.
Yep.
Out in the driveway, actually.
Yep.
And
On the porch and the driveway.
The porch and the driveway.
I thought Don had a Corvette, not a porch.
I've got control over this because it has been 30, 40 years since I actually had control over the audio. Ka-ching! I finally got it my way, and I've got control over the audio.
Frank
That's
Sinatra
a
did
scary
it too.
thought.
See, the last time Don had control was before he got married the first time. And he looks at me because that is so true.
I've actually never had control, ever. And now in my older years, I don't want control of anything.
I like the pictures of you in your younger years with the glasses and the long hair. You were pretty cool back then. What happened?
I didn't do it.
Wow. Wow.
It's a rough crowd here on
Rough crowd,
Saturday.
Rough crowd.
I'm sure it has something to do with lack of sleep.
I'm going to go back and sit in the corner in the other room.
No, you're not. We're not going to have that again because that looked really.
Creepy.
It looked like some sort of a porn movie in progress.
Oh.
That somebody was working on producing, and I just didn't like the shot. And hopefully we'll never have that shot again. But at any rate, so Jeff Seekin, tire goddess man,
Sure.
is here, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to talk more about the tires that we just kind of briefly touched on. And Jeff's going to be with us in our first hour. He's actually going to be with us the entire show. But Lynn Beckwith is going to take care of the second hour of the show.
Correct.
And this is a live broadcast in case you haven't figured that out yet.
And now that we don't have the restraints of the FCC, we may be a little bit more out of control.
Now,
than
we have
normal.
different kind of restraints, and they're attached to the chairs. That's how that works. But at any rate, we've decided, me, and several of us here have chimed in and said, yes, let's do this. We're going to move the broadcast from inside the house here. We're going
We
to.
just got this set up.
I
We're
know,
gonna move-
but we're going to move it about 50 feet in that direction, out that door, which you can't see at home, but it's out that
There's a door.
and it's what I'd like to call my storage shed, but I think at one time it was actually a garage.
It's his she shed.
It's my she shed, like Cheryl's she shed, except hopefully this one won't burn down. But whatever, we're going to move it out there, and it may take us a couple of weeks to do that. It depends on how quickly I can do that. But there are bigger and better things, bigger and better fish to fry in the near future.
I like
If we're having a fish fry?
Yeah, fish fry.
That would be good.
Yeah, it
And
would.
you know what? In this show,
That and a crawfish boil. I'm game.
and you know what? We've got a nice backyard that we could
We do.
that.
There is.
We could talk cars, drink beer, and sit
around,
around and
chit-chat.
just like we're doing now
Yeah.
In the backyard.
in the backyard. Yeah,
We can do that.
we can do that.
Let's go.
We can do that. and you know we could
And we very well may do that.
we can rush inside if it starts to rain, but if not, we've also got the big tent.
We could bring that over
We
here
could
too
bring
and
that
set
over
it
here.
up.
Why don't you just move in?
We could just pitch a tent.
You know, don't. Let me see if my wife's listening before you go too far.
Pitch
You know-
a tent, pitch a hissy. Either way.
Pitch a tent. You know that has so many different ramifications, and I don't even want to go there. But at any rate,
but you did.
I did because that's how I work. So I'm driving an electric car this week. Just thought I'd
saw
bring this
that.
up.
A plug-in electric that won't let you plug it in.
I know it'll let me plug it in, but it doesn't charge. And it was delivered without an owner's manual, so I can't tell you whether or not I'm doing something wrong. All I did was take the charger, plug it into the wall, the 110 out there, and then plug it into the car. Now you would think that the car would recognize that it's plugged in and ready to be charged since there's juice going to it. It shows that the plug is plugged into the car. It's got the little red signal in there that says it's plugged in, but
And the wire, the charger box on the 110 cable going to the car, that's powered up.
yeah. So everything, as far as I know, is set. And you would think that when you plug it in, it would go, let me feed all this juice into my battery.
Me.
But no, it's not doing that. I left it with 52% charge last night. It charged all night long, and it's still at 52%. So what up? I don't know. But
Are you
we're-
on that? Are you on that free electricity for weekend?
No, I'm
Maybe
not.
that's it?
However, I will say this: that the media PR person, somebody from Electrify America, sent me this big PR release this week, and it just so happens that the headline reads: "Electrify America. Kia Motors America offers DC fast charging plan for Kia Niro EV drivers."
There you go.
That'd be
what
me.
it is, yeah.
Timing.
But it doesn't have my address on it. So it apparently doesn't work here at this address. So I'm going to have to take it up, according to the car, that the Whole Foods out here has a charging station that is double the 110. So it's a 220 or whatever it is.
And that's supposed to charge it faster.
Yeah, well, it'll have to.
And that's what I was telling you. The last time I had a completely electric vehicle, I ended up taking it over to the Nissan dealer because I left it plugged in 18 hours and it still didn't get there with the charger. So I took it over to the Nissan dealer and parked it next to a Tesla that was left there to charge. I just left it, let it charge.
Would you walk home?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
my wife burned gas to come and pick me up.
She
to
burned
bring
gas
it.
to you.
That's
Mhm.
right.
There's that. Well, I am not going to walk a mile and a half to the Whole Foods.
Well, you got nothing else to do. You're locked in.
That's
You
true.
can go shopping. They have recycled toilet paper.
Pick up some ice cream while you're there.
Only Conrad would know that they
I
have
know.
recycled toilet paper at Whole Foods.
But they do.
How would you know that? And
Because
how do you
I've shopped
recycle?
it- I've
How
sh-
do you recycle toilet paper?
I really don't want to know.
You mean the
I'm-
paper itself is from recycled paper?
Material.
Just
probably,
however
yeah.
you want to think about it, Don.
I don't really want to think about it.
That's kind of where we're at. You know, it's like,
So this was a car show, but
It
we've
was.
turned it into a Whole Foods charging station.
From she sheds to
Whole food.
crap.
Yeah. By the way, is anybody happen to monitor the Facebook?
Yeah, we've actually got quite a few people watching.
I'm sure that they are.
and Don,
And they're
George-
probably telling their friends, don't watch this show because
Candace
there's-
is watching.
because there's something really sick about it already.
Our Facebook audio engineer, Jeff Heitzman, is one.
And he says you got really good quality. And George Edward Skelton,
Yes.
Oh, gosh, he's going to be great.
Yes, George.
he renamed his Kia Rio 5 Don Armstrong because the check engine light came on this week. He gave it some
George.
he gave it some Viagra and it runs great. He said.
Runs all night long.
Oh.
But it won't run more than 4 hours.
Or if it does, he's got to call his mechanic.
Gina's on. Hi, Gina. How you doing?
You know, I worry a little bit how quickly this kind of runs off the rails. Have you noticed that?
Quickly, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Travis Danes is on from Jeep
Hey,
Freaks.
Travis.
Robert Bales is on, who's a friend of mine from.
I didn't think you
Prison?
had any friends except this.
not really.
this.
Yeah, just us 4 guys.
By
right?
the way,
5.
the meeting time was supposed to be 10 o'clock this morning for a 12 noon broadcast. Conrad always is early. I love that. He'd have made a good broadcaster. Mars, on the other hand,
I had
is
to make up-
always 10 to 15 minutes
And
late.
I have to make up for Conrad being early.
So it balances it out. in
No,
your
it
mind.
doesn't. Because Mars usually has the stuff we need. I just show up for the beer.
Well, David, this is going to be show and tell. So give me that thing that you brought here because I want to show everybody what.
Oh, boy.
No, this is just wrong.
So
I'm just telling you, this is wrong.
Oh my! Listen, you can go to church tomorrow. So here,
No, I'm talking about the quality that you're after. Jeez.
So this is TX blended whiskey. And, you know, we couldn't do this we could have done it on the radio. You wouldn't have known about it. However, somebody has already drank some out of
I
it
see
because
that.
it got here this morning and it was full. Who would that be?
Suze. Where's Susie?
Susie did it.
Susie.
Suze.
She went to go lay down now.
Took a
taking a
shot
nap.
and she's taking a nap.
For those that don't know, Suze or Susie is the Basset Hound
It's the mascot.
mascot.
Bascott, that's right.
Don't slide it over
I
to
think
me.
it's a beagle. I think it's a beagle, not a basset hound.
Whatever, it's close enough. Well, thank you, David, for bringing this, and we'll be sure and polish this off. Well, I'll have one, because I know the last time that I was inducted into the TX Whiskey Hall of Fame, it took me an entire day to recover from
I
that.
believe it says the wall of shame. That's actually what
That's
it is.
exactly what it is. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Or are you just going to sit this straight?
Okay. Yeah, put that down there, too.
Okay.
Neil Alderman has joined. Hey, look, Don Armstrong is watching. Ron Rempel from Enid, Oklahoma.
All right.
Jennifer
He was watching
Borchling
last week.
Orcharding,
from Paint House.
Yeah.
Did you see what they posted this week? That blue truck.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, was that gorgeous? They, they're always in process.
We need to get him on from his shop and let us see what all he's got going on.
Well, you know,
Jennifer, can you handle that for us?
we now have a setup to do that from their phone, so they could be our remote
That's right.
broadcast reporter.
And I guess the 63 Corvette that they've been building and we've been watching them paint, I guess it's somewhere for final assembly now. But what a gorgeous car that was. I think he said that was Randy Apple Red 3.
Randy Apple Red.
Randy.
Yeah, so it's like his
Wow.
third generation of Randy Apple Red.
By
And then
the-
David Red's watching. David's a friend of mine. See, I have more than one friend, Don.
It's amazing. I don't know how that has taken place, but whatever. So I, this week, had this wild hair. And you know me and wild hairs.
I have one of those. It's right back here.
Yes. It's growing over your collar, and you would have been kicked out of school for that in the 1970s. I just wanted
My
to let
mother
you know.
asked me yesterday when I was going to get a haircut. And I said, haircut places are closed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing my duty to staying out of
I'm
there.
suffering myself.
I see that.
I'm suffering.
We wish we had a wild hair
gotta
that
get
we
my-
could comb over, right, Jeff?
This is a car show.
It is.
So I had a wild hair. I thought, let's look up car shows that Don likes. Well, you know, I got sidetracked a little bit, and one of the things that came up,
Squirrel.
one of the things that came up in the search for car shows on TV, one of the first things was My Mother the Car.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that horrible show?
With Van Dyke, not
Jerry Van Dyke.
Jerry Van
Jerry
Dyke,
Van Dyke.
right.
My Mother the Car was a television show.
It was
way
only
back
6
then.
episodes or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
plenty.
Yeah.
It was that needed to go away right away. But at any rate, I didn't realize that the History Channel has a bunch of car shows. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
How did that happen?
Trying to sell them ours.
Well, yeah. Cheap.
Yeah.
I actually think it kind of started with Count's Customs, was kind of their original car show.
Well,
No, wasn't it Richard Rawlings?
oh, God.
No, Richard Rawlings is Discovery Channel.
He is now.
Yeah.
He used to be on History.
Oh, was he? Oh, I thought he started on Discovery.
I believe it was History.
And there's between History, Discovery, and Motor Trend, there's a lot of good car stuff on it. If you watch This Week on MS or NBC Sports, they were running a whole bunch of races,
yeah,
nostalgic races, NASCAR races, and
That would be from the Nobody Cares television network, NBC.
well, that's true. But I made a lot of money on that. I was betting my friends who would win.
Right. I watched a fascinating movie this week that I discovered that was taken, I don't know, it was made years ago. It was called Petty Blue. Have you seen that?
I've years ago.
Yeah, a long
It's
time
really
ago.
a good documentary on Richard Petty. And, the tragic death of his son and the whole Petty family.
His grandson. That was the
Kyle Petty's son.
Kyle
Yes,
Petty's
correct,
son,
his
right.
grandson, right. And it was a fascinating movie.
that happened at New Hampshire, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And a
And-
practice session.
And that was one of the tragedies in NASCAR that led to the safer barrier development.
Correct.
So with as so many tragedies in racing lead to safety improvements.
Was it the safer barrier that came first or the Hans device that came first?
I think the Hans did first, and then the safer
Safer
barrier.
was
Because
after.
they
The
were
Hans
they're really
device was more of a strap pull down rather than the
Hans device keeps
carbon fiber.
your head
Right.
in position to your shoulders,
Right.
where in an impact, the weight of your head and the helmet doesn't stretch beyond a point and snap your
right.
spinal
But the
cord.
first Hans were more of a strap type system
Right.
rather than the carbon fiber that the belts go under.
Correct.
Or
Yeah,
goes
there's
under the
been a
belt.
couple of developments
Right,
through Hans.
and then I
but
think it was the safer barrier after that. Correct us if we're wrong.
well, chime in
We'll
on
find
Facebook.
out.
Yeah, let
Absolutely.
us know if that's possible and you want to chime in. Which was it? Was it the Hans device or the safer barrier that came first? Don't know. Anyway,
Chicken or the egg?
back to some of the one of my several favorites that I have. I watch a lot of Motor Trend. Do you?
Yep.
Do you? So I love Phantom Works Garage.
Yes.
That's a very good show.
I would agree, and he's kind of fun to listen to because he really demands a lot of quality of the people that he has working for
Right.
him. Where some of the others, I don't know that they demand that level of quality.
It's not one of my favorites.
Which
Phantom Works?
Works?
Not one of my favorites.
Why not?
I think there's a tone of arrogance. And
yes.
if you
Yeah.
look at the shop, you look beyond what they're working on. You kind of look around what's on the walls.
Shop's
and-
a little dumpy.
Oh, it is, and that does not impress me.
Well, the other one I like is Restoration Garage.
Me too.
I like
too,
that one.
yeah.
And but there's a level of quality there, but that's an old dumpy shop as well.
But you have to look at also the history of what they do so far as the nostalgic, the high-end, unheard of cars that I haven't heard of.
Restoration Garage?
Restoration.
Oh, my
and,
gosh.
And of course the longevity and the time that the shop has been there. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
And we're welcome to it.
Not sure why we're not on the wide shot, but
Well, we can be.
Thank you.
We were.
Yeah.
But thank you. Well, you can see it here too.
yeah, I know. Kind of. It's not an eye test. Chasing Classic Cars. I love
that.
Wayne Carini.
Love that.
Yeah. Which is a different kind of car show. It's really chasing classic cars. And boy, he must have a ton of people calling him, asking him to handle their car auction, restoration, what to do with it. Is it
How to
worth
handle
it?
it and what to do with it.
Brilliant guy.
Yeah, and the thing I like
Broker.
about that one is Wayne doesn't talk about money on that show.
No.
He says, I bought the car, I bought it right. But
For an undisclosed
the
amount.
only time you hear money is when they actually sell something at auction, and then you can hear the auction price goes through, and then he may or may not talk about the auction premium on top of it. But other than that, his show
kind of
is
a
not
given,
about
though.
money. His show is truly about the car, where some of the other shows are all about the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the auction fees are kind of a given, anyways.
Yeah, well,
you all know
yeah.
that.
So-
if you're interested,
Count Customs. What do you think about
I'm not
that?
a big fan of Count's Customs.
Yeah,
It's,
when
it's
when he
over-
first came out, I really
Yeah,
liked
used
it.
to be, used
but
to be.
now it's
it's overproduced.
yeah.
It's a show.
Yes.
It's a show more of a documentary of what their garage does. He just sold that blue GTO he's had forever. I just saw that
The
on
67?
social media. Yeah, that was his kind of his love car.
yeah.
He finally just sold it, but I think he made a mint on it.
They built it. It was going to be sold, but they pulled it back to
Right.
keep
Yeah,
it.
he
Okay.
kept it.
kept
He
it.
decided he wanted to
Okay.
keep it. Yeah, it just.
But I think a lot of that show has more to do with who he's building cars for than about the car, and then the personality of some of the people he's
More
got.
of a theme. More
Yeah,
of a theme.
but I lose it because he's like you say. To me he's overacting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
okay. I know him on TV, so I got to do more. When he first started, he wasn't that way. I didn't think.
Well, he's an entrepreneur with other businesses too.
Well, sure.
He's got the tattoo shop in is it the Rio
He's got the-
Casino? He's
yeah,
got the
he's got the
restaurant.
restaurant and
He's in a
and the
band.
bar, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much for me. Okay, but I'm more of a real true car guy when it comes to car shows. One that I really like is Dave Kendig's Bitch and Rides.
Yes, absolutely.
Although I think Kev Dog goes a little bit too much.
Yeah,
and
I'm on
it's-
board with you there.
Yeah, it's a little bit over the top, and he's too much involved in it, and just let
Too much silliness.
But he has
Exactly.
But Kindig has some true, as do a lot of the other guys, have some real craftsmen working for him.
Oh,
You know-
absolutely.
you know-
The quality of the design of what he does, and then how his people pull it off is pretty awesome. Fun watch.
I'd like to go over to Randy and Jen's place, the paint shop, and have a series over there. I think that would be really good. That's actually serious about car restorations, mods, all of the things that there are. The
Follow a car from start to
God,
finish there.
That pickup truck, my God, that one that won everything.
54, yeah.
Oh, that truck was just unbelievable.
56, I think. I'm sorry.
Iron Resurrection out
Yeah.
of Austin, Texas.
Martin Brothers.
I love those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a good time, especially with Pampa, shooting firecrackers in there. And, that's my kind of stuff.
You know his painter left.
Yes. No, his interior
Poster-
guy.
Is Polster, Cato, and also
The body shop
Yeah,
painter
body
guy
shop
left.
painter
He,
left.
he went back to Dallas.
yeah, he went back to Dallas.
But did both of them go to Dallas?
No, the upholsterer went to Atlanta. His wife moved with a position, and then he obviously had to follow. But he hooked up very quickly with a premier shop out there, is what I understand, what I've read. I don't know the man personally, but the things that I've followed about him.
Hey, Larry Gallo warns us not to eat pizza near you for some reason. I'm not real sure. There's got to be a backstory to
No,
that.
it's not actually pizza. Let me remind him that it was popcorn, and it was at an Astros game, and I apparently had, well, not just me, but Larry Gallo and Buddy Clark, Buddy Cantu,
Okay.
and myself went to an Astros game in the Astrodome, and we had a little bit too much to drink.
No.
And I was eating.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
This is my shocked face. I've been practicing.
Chaz
this.
Miller
Sponsored
says
by-
hi. Chaz Miller says hi. Marko Milosevic says hi. Now he's the one who sold Angela the red Mercedes 300 GLC, and then it got flooded out in Harvey. See, he was real happy to sell the black one
Yeah,
right
come-
behind it.
come on
a year
over.
later. Richard Tomlin's watching. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Richard.
Thanks for your segment last week. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we really liked
We want
it.
to come back and revisit you on that.
Absolutely. Yes. So, anyway, I spit popcorn in Larry's hair because he was sitting in front of me. I didn't mean to do it on purpose, and so I wound up having to. Larry, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick some popcorn out of the back of your
So you
hair.
look like a monkey picking fleas out of his hair.
So, Larry, thank you for watching, and welcome to the show. What a welcome, huh?
So what other shows do you like that are on TV?
How about Texas Metal?
I like Texas Metal. There's some weirdness about it.
That's over to extensive.
Right, and we've had a chance to meet those guys.
You
up
have?
Well, we had him on the show. We had his second man on the show.
That's right, we did.
Up at
Lone
Lone
Star
Star
Throwdown.
The cars and trucks are just super wild in their build.
It's amazing to me that, well, I don't know why they just don't start from scratch on everything, because they pretty much dismantle
Everything,
anything and everything.
Building their own frames
Yeah.
and all their own suspension
Right.
pieces. Pretty cool. See, I'm a fan of the original Street Outlaws, the Oklahoma City guys. You know, I loved that show. All of the iterations of it that have spun off, Memphis Street Outlaws and New Orleans Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings. I can kind of do without them. I really like the original Street Outlaws.
The Oklahoma, the original Street Outlaws. I've been to their. They had their facility wasn't far from a tire facility that we had, and a couple 3 miles. When I got some T-shirts
Out on Southwest 74th.
yeah,
Yep.
T-shirts and things like that. So
Dumpy little garage out in the
yeah.
middle of nowhere. I mean, seriously, a dumpy little garage way out in the boonies.
One big tornado can take it out. That's for sure.
Well, I have to tell you, friends, that this is such a fun conversation. We're going to continue this car shows on TV. It's time to take a break, actually 2 breaks, and I've completely blown right past my car review. So I'm going to need to get that in as well.
Man.
Jeff, time flies when you're having a good time, doesn't it?
Yeah. While you're doing the car review, you want me to get set up for the remote?
Yes.
While he's doing the car review, that'd be
Yeah.
a good time to do
Why
it.
don't we just hang on for just a minute before we get into all of that? Because what I'd like to do is take a break and maybe perhaps gather my thoughts, which few there are.
They won't take long.
Yeah, but at any rate,
Squirrel.
Squirrel. Exactly. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Thought gathering juice.
For me, it's all about me. So we'll be right back. I hope. Oh, no, we're not going. That won't work. But this will.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch our soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's In Wheel Time Car Show, coming to you live on Periscope, YouTube, and on Facebook. And thank you all very much. And pardon my thumbs Armstrong over here, because Thumbs Armstrong hasn't done so well. He was hoping to do better with his audio production, and I didn't screw it up too bad. But
But you're still working on it.
I'm still working on.
There's still time.
There is still time, and I used to be very adept at it, but having not done it in a long time, it's worrisome. All right, time now for this hour's car review. Time for the 2020 Toyota Tundra. Available trim levels are the SR, the SR5, the Limited, the Platinum, the 1794 edition, and the TRD Pro. That's a lot of editions. I had the 1794 Crewmax 4x4. This is considered by your government as a standard pickup truck, half-ton model, by the way. Now, it comes in a double cab or a crew cab or a Crewmax cab. It also has 3 bed lengths depending on the cab size that you get. Just like all the other trucks that are made in America, this one too is made in America. As a matter of fact, made in San Antonio, USA. But it has a lot of options, and that's why so many trucks are so popular these days, because you can customize the truck to the way that you want it. And you don't need to pay for any more, any less. If you're going to pull something, you take that into consideration. If you're going to haul big loads, you got to take that into consideration. If you're going to haul the family, take that into consideration before you choose on what size cab you're going to need and what size bed length you're going to need. This really hasn't had many changes over the past year. This is the 2nd generation Tundra that's currently out, and it was first made in 07. Can you believe
It's been out
Been
since
that
07?
long? Wow.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
been in production in San Antonio the whole time.
Correct. It has. It was built alongside the Tacoma, but now I understand that they've taken Toyota Tacoma production away from San Antonio, put it down into Mexico, which was their 2nd plant for Tacomas, which is about to get a refresh, by the way. And so now they're just building Tundras. Everything is changing within these factories. They don't necessarily have to build just one vehicle
Right.
in the factory. They can build multiple on the same production line. So that's where they're headed. Anyway, exterior features. Sharp-looking grille and front lighting on it. Attractive wheel options, especially in the upper trim levels. Smooth tailgate without a lot of embellishments on it. It's embossed in the back. It says Tundra. I like that. What could use improvement? It needs updating, and they're in the process of doing that. Interior highlights include attractive and functional dash, straightforward design, kind of getting a little long in the tooth, easy-to-use steering wheel controls, and easy-to-use infotainment screen that goes across all of the Toyota line. What I liked about it? Well, they finally have added Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and you think, what?
Finally?
What? Finally?
They waited a little bit.
Yeah, well, the Japanese aren't real quick at some of these things. What could use improvement? I think that the dash needs a little bit more eye candy. It's kind of old school, but like I said, 07 was the last time it has been redesigned. Engine, 5.7-liter V8 is the only one available now. They had a smaller V8, but they've dropped that, so all you got's the 5.7-liter V8. 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque, 6-speed automatic transmission. Tow rating, 10,000 pounds. Haul rating, up to 1,600 pounds. And this is where it hurts. Gas mileage. 13 miles per gallon city is what it's rated. 17 highway for a combined of 14. Driving a lot, mostly on the freeways and the tollway, got 16 miles per gallon over 457 miles. That also includes a trip to Winnie and back to pick up some junk from Mr. Mars for this show.
But that had a long parking lot excursion on the highway as you're on your way back, didn't it, from the traffic?
Oh, my God. So I got stuck on the way back. Just a little side note here. So I'm on I-10. Bad. On I-10 and over the San Jacinto River, that horrible bridge that needs to go away, that everything in his mother hits. Well, somebody hit the back of a moving roadwork crew. Okay? The big, huge trucks that have the barrels that come down in the back so you don't hit the crew, you hit the truck instead. It destroyed this truck. It was bent in half, the barrels shoved up to the cab. Somebody just blew right through the back end of it. So the only one barely wide lane was getting through this mess. Why don't they put a suspension bridge over that San Jacinto River? They spend billions of dollars on road construction, and then they've got that bottleneck at the San Jacinto River that you go over every day, every week that you come over here.
Absolutely.
What is wrong with these people? Barges hit it. Cars fall off of it. The river catches fire, burns up the freeway. They got to close it down.
They got barges floating around out there all willy-nilly just everywhere.
Especially
on the
north side of the freeway.
Well,
Not only
and
that,
the south side is the compressed natural gas plant.
That's right.
So they're putting in a big, huge bomb down there as
and
well.
let's also not forget that is a Superfund site that's buried in the river.
Right, on the north side.
On
where
the
you
north
can see
side of the
all
bridge.
that rock and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's from the 60s, the Superfund site.
Yeah, that they've yet to clean up. Just go over the top of it, please.
Yeah,
Okay, now back to the car. Ride and handling, it's got a stiffer ride than its competitors, but again, this is old school design, relatively speaking. Base trim price on the Toyota Tundra, $51,675. That's the base trim price for this model that I had, the 1794. As tested price was $57,222. If you want to get in a Tundra, it's going to cost you $33,575. That's the base sticker price on it. Competitors, the Ford F-150 base price is $28,745. Chevy Silverado 1500, $28,300. The Ram 1500, couple $1,000 more at $32,145. And that's the review of the Toyota Tundra 1794.
I've got a couple of my guys at work drive the Tundra and love it, but they have the same complaint you did, in that it is a gas hog.
Yeah,
it is horrible fuel economy.
Yeah, and there's no need for that these days. Seriously, I mean, it's come a long way.
Right. Or it should have.
The technology has changed where
they don't offer a diesel for one.
Well, they also don't offer cylinder cancellation like the Ram does and the GM products do.
And the Ram's got the Eco Torque thing that increases gas mileage.
And you look at Ford has gone to the EcoBoost twin turbo V6 to get some fuel economy out of it as well.
Yeah, there's that. All right, so that's the car review. We're going to take another break, and then we're going to check in with Jeff Zekin out on the back patio. This ought to be good. Stay with us.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would he do that? The train still hasn't stopped. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome back. It's In Wheel Time on this Saturday, April the 11th, 2020. So glad that you could join us today. And this is a live show on Periscope. Is it up Periscope or just Periscope?
Just Periscope.
Yeah, just Periscope.
Okay, Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook. And that's where we have all of our fun with our friends who can chat with us while we're on. Tons of fun. Okay, so Jeff Zekin is now made his way out to the back patio on and hoping that are we going to have him today? No, we're not going to have him. So Mr. Mars has got something that he needs to take care of, obviously, with that. So we're going to continue our discussion while you stop doing that. We're going to.
Then you ain't going to talk to Jeff.
I know, but we can't talk to Jeff that way either. So, at any rate, so we can continue our discussion about
car shows.
The car shows, yes. You know, one of the shows that I really do like is the Goblin Works Garage from the UK.
Yes. Because they do cars that we don't necessarily see here. In the U.S. They do some kind of, I'll say, some odd cars at Goblin Works that aren't necessarily American-made cars there as well. So,
well, you know, and I don't really think it's so much about the cars. It's what they do and the different perspective that they have on cars. And they take a car. You know what we're talking about, Goblin Works? You like that show?
It's I could go either way.
You know? Oh, really?
Yeah. To me, it always turns into a motorcycle somewhere.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, that one guy, the girl's husband, I think that's her husband. I think that he's into the motorcycle part of it. So they kind of fold in the motorcycle and the car together, and he works on the motorcycle and they work on the car. I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's a different flip.
What it did do for me is piqued my interest into right-hand drive vehicles.
Okay.
So if you could Google right-hand drive vehicles in Houston, and a lot of Jeeps pull up. A lot of
right-hand drive, really?
Jeep Wranglers?
Of different sorts.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know that.
And they're here in town. They're older models, of course. They're nothing new, but they piqued my interest in right-hand drive.
Well, you know,
vehicles.
one of the things that I didn't write down here, and we've had this discussion, I think, once before. We've mentioned it briefly. It's the show that's out of L.A. where they take old JDM
Japanese
Customs,
domestic market.
JDM what? JDM, but it's JDM something.
I think it's customs.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
JDM.
Japanese domestic market customs. And typically they are right-hand drive cars because they are true Japanese domestic market vehicles that they bring in and do some pretty wild modifications to that is a huge market in different parts of the country. There's a market for it here in Houston, but I think they were kind of the original importer of some of those Japanese domestic market vehicles.
To that point, there's one in Canada as well. There's I think it's Montreal. There's a shop. They do sort of like Restoration Garage, but
really?
It's a Canadian version of that for newer models.
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you
I
know what the name?
I can't remember the name of it. It's JD something.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, at any rate, Graveyard Cars, Mark Warman.
Well, you talk about one that's just a little bit overproduced. Yeah. I think Warman is he has a little too much fun acting crazy.
Well, and
for
not
the
only that, but it's
camera.
really all about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've watched that now for quite some time, and I've learned a lot because he is a wealth of knowledge about
he's
Mopar
incredible.
products.
Incredible.
So when he starts talking about a B12, or he starts talking about the
Vitamins?
how
I was just going to say, I took
Vitamins,
a
yeah.
shot like that this
no,
morning.
B12 is a paint color. on
it's also a
Mopar
vitamin.
products. But and then he talks about the rarity of the products that he works on. It's pretty cool. And Phantasm, he redid the CUDA for the movie Phantasm, that black CUDA. So he's goofy, and boy, does he go through people.
Yeah.
His
ghouls.
And that poor brother-in-law of his, boy, he beats on him, doesn't he?
But I think he's
Is he been
Does he
hit
deserve
upside?
it, or
Has he
does
been
he-
hit upside the head or something?
Does he ask for it?
a few times.
Yeah.
And his daughter, she really doesn't have a lot of tolerance for his idiocy. But yeah, that's a good show though. I do like some of that show.
Well, I do too. He runs a very tight shop, and he's got incredible junkyard in the backyard.
Oh my gosh, the stuff he's got just parked out there waiting for him to work on is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But
And when he does the restoration, it is
Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
In every way.
because he doesn't like doing a modded car, though he does some modded cars. He wants to do a true restoration car
yeah.
to the point where the way the paint overspray is
markings,
inside the
yeah.
trunk and the
Markings,
crayon markings and chalk markings of a car
Inspections.
and inspection markings have to be perfect for him. So
So you can have him build yourself a show winner.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Then
could.
you get it 2 years later.
Here's one that I actually kind of like. It's kind of strange. He does the restoration. So you have him build yourself a show winner.
Well, we're a few seconds behind there, Mars.
Yeah, and he keeps feeding me this stuff, and I keep potting it up, and so we're not going to do that anymore.
Always having flashbacks.
Exactly.
Again.
Junkyard Empire.
I watch
Is it out of Long Island or New York or New
it's
Jersey?
out
Like
of-
that,
it's
Pennsylvania
out
or
of,
something?
It's out of the East Coast somewhere. I watch it. They're a place I don't like the quality of.
It's
the
a
cars.
junkyard.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
you
think
have them
they're-
on before?
No. I think their build quality leaves something to be desired, and then they represent it, I think, as something that it's really not.
You know, I particularly like the shot that we're getting on Facebook and YouTube right now. And if
It's
you're
Dave's butt.
exactly, if you're wondering about some lowrider pants, that would be Dave's butt that you're happen
And
to
the,
look
and the
at.
plumber's
back there.
smile.
And the plumber's smile. That's it. Thank you.
Well,
David.
what's the other one? Desert Kings. The
Desert Kings?
Yeah, I think it's called Desert Kings.
It's an
It's
old
the
one.
salvage. No, it's the salvage yard. Well, yeah, it is. It is a little bit
It's
older.
not on anymore.
But it's a salvage yard that's out in. I want to say Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of Junkyard Empire
Yeah.
on the. Out
Well, it
in
was
Phoenix.
Desert Kings, and then there was two guys that did that.
But they too did a lot of restoration builds that I kind of questioned the quality of. You
And
know.
the other one, I don't know what's on your list, but the two guys that they'll rebuild something and then destroy it. Gosh, anyways, it's actually on today. I can't remember the name of it. What do you got on your list?
And then what's the other one where the guy and his son, and they build all this stuff kind of in his garage, and he does all these wild customs, and he built the Goblin show car, and he's kind of a kind of an odd duck himself, but he's only had one season of Cars.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the show.
He's all tatted up, real skinny guy.
Yeah, real skinny guy, but a wild builder. But again, I think the quality of his cars leaves a lot to be desired. The visuals of his car are good, but I think if you looked underneath them, there's a big question as far as how long that car is going to run.
There's also a show on that I like. It's called Autobiography.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Autobiography is awesome. I think their very first show was the Dino Ferrari that was buried in the backyard in somebody's house in L.A. that two kids found. That is an awesome show.
How did I miss that?
That's a fallacy. That's farce. It was not. It was an informant through the police department that actually told him where the car was. The kids had nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay,
There were no
okay.
kids involved at all.
But the car was buried.
The car
in
was
somebody's
buried.
backyard, yeah.
It was. They stole it. They thought the owner had stolen it himself. He was is allegedly in financial trouble. He owned a restaurant, whatever the case, or head of business, whatever
But
the case.
But the two guys that do the show have a real good conversation
Oh, yeah.
through the show about what the show is showing and what they're excellent
Yeah,
show.
excellent show.
Have you seen the latest one that's on called Driven?
Yes.
And that their first show was about the Carroll Shelby Pantera of the late 70s, which was kind of the mule car for the Viper.
Right.
They actually had a Pantera.
I did see that.
A white Pantera that Shelby had put a Chrysler 360 and Carroll Banks had built a twin turbo system for it. Those guys found that engine 40 years later.
Yeah.
In some salvage yard out in L.A., which was pretty amazing.
And they got
in
it running.
itself.
They got it back.
So that's a cool show, and there's other stuff that they're building. The second one, and it's Galpin Motorsports.
Galpin Motorsports
is the base to the show.
Right.
They are the shop that
It's
that
out
the
in
show.
LA.
Well, Galpin Ford. Is Galpin Motorsports.
Right.
So Galpin Ford was a huge and still is a huge Ford dealership out in the LA market. Right. But back in the 60s and 70s, they were a location for people to buy super high performance Fords. And they were one of those Ford dealers that were selling and I can't remember the name of it. If Weldon's listening, he'll tell us. But they were selling a Mustang El Camino. It had like a little pickup bed. I think they made like 50 or 60 of them.
There's saw on the internet a Mustang station wagon, an old 65, 66-ish.
Okay.
There, yeah.
So, but Galpin Motorsports is the one that the Driven is built
And their
around.
shirts say gas, GAS.
Right, and and it's all about finding historic cars that have a tremendous amount of history that are just languishing someplace, and how they go back in and rebuild them. The second one was a 32 Highboy, the second show they had, which was just last week.
Yeah, and they took it to for the awards.
Yeah, it was a 32 pickup truck. I'm sorry, Highboy pickup truck or some odd thing.
Yeah, there was
again,
like
it was one of those. They only
rare-
made like
rare
300 of them
Right.
ever. Very, very cool. And they didn't win. It wasn't Riddler. It was a different award, but it was
similar.
Yeah, super high level award for hot street rods.
Probably one of my favorite shows is Garage Squad.
Yep, and they've changed with what's his name?
Is it the one with Foose?
No. It's he does the NHRA show as well.
Bruno Massel.
Yeah,
Bruno
Bruno
Massel.
Mm-hmm.
I like that show a lot because there's a lot of emotion in that show.
Well, not only that, but there's also a lot of work that gets done in somebody's garage
In a very short period of time.
Well, it's a short period of time because it's only got 30 minutes to go or an hour. But, it takes much longer than that to do all the work that they've done. But at any rate, yeah. How about Hot Rod and Roadkill?
Roadkill.
Yes,
That's the one I was thinking of.
Roadkill. Those guys are out of
Yeah,
control.
that's the one of the two guys that build stuff and they break it.
And it's amazing that they
Roadkill.
don't get arrested for some of the junk they drive on the highway.
That's what's so fun about it. I mean, these cars where they've got spot welds to hold the door shut. Forget the handle. There's no handle.
Or they chain it. They chain the door to the post just so that the door doesn't go flying open. But they've got a great following as well. There's a huge internet
So
following.
if they
on
came
those
to
guys as
town,
well.
I would go. I would go see them. Sure, I would go there.
Love to have them on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
They weren't at Autorama, were they?
No.
One of them? No.
Yes, one of them was.
One of them was.
Yeah.
But I think he was there Sunday and we were there Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. There are lots of shows that I like, including, do you like Salvage Hunters?
Salvage Hunter's the guy that's wandering around doing all the barn finds, right? Or salvage yard finds.
Yeah, Salvage Yard.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
I've seen it a couple of times. Kind of interesting. I didn't get hooked up to it well.
Is that the one where they fly a drone over it and then they go knock on the door after they discover what's in the backyard?
I haven't seen that one.
No, there is one
Something
that
like
has
that.
done that they get in these areas that I think they go on Google Earth and they look in these areas for where there's a collection of junkyard stuff, but it's not a formal junkyard, and they've flown a drone over it to look and see what's in there, and I'm surprised they don't get the drone shot out of the air, and then they'll go knock on the guy's door to see what they have that they sell. Yeah, I have seen that one. That one's kind of a cool premise.
I was a big fan of Top Gear when it first aired in the United States.
With the Brit guys?
Yeah. But you know, and now they've got the American version of it, and it's not bad, but there's something about it, and I can't tell you what it is. There's something about it that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know whether the way the show is put together. I don't know whether it's the hosts or the subject matter or the stories that they wind up telling.
Oh, one of the hosts is Joey from Friends.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
That's probably what it is.
That doesn't work for me.
The
I'm sorry.
original Top Gear, where they had the comedian, they had the guy from NASCAR.
And the actual jerk that got fired.
The race car guy?
No, you're talking about the American version. Don's talking about the British version.
Oh,
well, the whole team got hauled out of Argentina because they were making jokes about Argentina getting whooped by Great Britain back in the Falkland Islands, and the license plate of the car, the tag itself was some snotty comment, and then all of a sudden they left all the cars, and those guys basically evacuated Argentina when somebody figured out what was going on. But they were a little out of control. Yeah. But a lot of fun to watch.
All right, we're going to have some news headlines coming up in just a second right here on the In Wheel Time radio program. And thank you for joining us today here on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. You were going to say something?
Well, and if you guys like a car show and you're watching us on Facebook, post it up on Facebook. We'll talk about it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys! I love this song! I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back to the In Wheel Time radio program, and we really appreciate you joining us today. This is a live broadcast here on this Saturday. We try to broadcast every Saturday. Well, we do broadcast every Saturday. Whether or not it gets out there or not, we're not quite sure about that. But at any rate, every Saturday from noon until 2, coming up on the top of the hour here on this Saturday out of Houston, Texas. And we thank you again for joining us. Couple of news headlines. Big pickups helped pull the Detroit 3 through the early weeks of a crisis that has shuttered plants and kept many would-be buyers at home. We get our news from autonews.com. In a quarter when total U.S. new vehicle sales fell double digits, deliveries of full-size pickups rose 3%.
That's amazing.
General Motors posted its best first quarter full-size pickup sales in 13 years after rolling out no-interest financing on 7-year loans, and Ram was among just 3 brands in the entire industry to report an increase last week. J.D. Power said 46% of light-duty pickup sales during the week ending March 29th were financed with 84-month loans compared to 10 to 15% normally.
84 months is 7 years.
Fiat Chrysler launched a new advertising campaign last week called Drive Forward, promoting 0 for 84-month loans, no payments for 90 days, and the ability to shop and buy from the safety of your home. Don't even have to go into the dealership. In contrast, demand for mid-size pickups plunged. The Chevy Colorado, GMC Canyon each saw sales fall 36% in the first quarter.
Wow.
Ouch. Toyota Tacoma declined 7.8% in the quarter, including a 30% drop in March.
And you got to think, 15 days of the end of the first quarter were quarantined.
Yeah.
You know, so you're pretty much everybody went on quarantine. What was it, March 15th or so? So though they had great one-quarter sales, that last 15 days was probably a little bit painful.
Yeah. Here's something that is rather unsettling. Nissan, remember, Carlos Ghosn?
Carlos.
Well, Nissan has requested a $4.6 billion commitment line from major lenders after sales were decimated by the coronavirus outbreak. Two people with knowledge from the matter told Reuters on Thursday. Even before the outbreak, it was badly hit by a slump in profitability following decades of aggressive expansion and the scandal surrounding Carlos.
Well, Nissan was in deep trouble before the coronavirus.
They were. That's what we're saying. Yeah. As of December, Nissan had negative free cash flow of $6.2 billion for its automotive business, according to company data.
Deep kimchi.
No, kimchi would be Korean, so that would have to be Kia or Hyundai. Deep sushi.
Deep sushi.
Deep sushi. Okay.
If you knew sushi like I knew sushi, oh, what a fish. Sorry.
You know,
I want squirrel.
Where is that booze, that TX
I had
stuff?
to put
It's
it up.
done.
Did you put it up?
So we already drank it all.
You drank it all.
What do you think they were doing on the back porch?
I don't know. I know that you went out there and then you came right back in.
I
So I'm
know.
thinking there was something going on that I wasn't privy to. I'm glad to say.
Don't want to see.
Okay. Well, it's time for us to take another quick break, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. But we were trying to arrange it so we could get Lynn Beckwith on the air with us, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I know that the boys are over there working on that.
They are.
Yeah, we're trying to, Lynn, if you're listening, we're trying to fix the audio feed. We were getting a feedback loop with Jeff, so we're in the process of trying to correct that. So hang with us a little bit.
Well, we're all hanging in there, and we ask you to do the same thing because we've got more of the In Wheel Time audio car show coming up after this quick break.
G, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
It's In Wheel Time on this Saturday. So glad you could join us. Thank you very much. It's a car show. At least we pretend that it's a car show. And we're not exactly sure where we are with this car show because we've been trying to do some different things, and some of it has worked and some of it has not worked. So you just take it from there. So, yes, you were going to say something, Conrad?
I love the way Don just turns my mic off so he doesn't have to listen to me
No,
when I
that's
talk.
exactly right.
Well, Lynn's out there, and I kind of let her know we're trying to get the audio feedback problem corrected. So give us a couple of minutes, and she
Okay.
said no problem.
All right. Well, that's good. So, Lynn owns Beckwith Car Care up on the north side, and actually it'd be kind of north
East.
and east, just a touch, up there by Lake Houston.
Yeah, well, she's just east of about a mile
Off
east
of
of 59.
1960, 19,
east,
yeah.
east of 59.
There's that. No.
But they've been, she's been in business for quite some time. She's got a very good reputation.
We were doing news, and so I wanted to kind of continue with that while we work on this audio thing. You were mentioning Japan earlier. Japan's three biggest automakers are poised to add almost, sitting down, 32,000 people to the unprecedented ranks of North American workers seeking unemployment benefits. While Toyota isn't furloughing any of its direct employees in the U.S., Canada, or Mexico yet, carmaker said Wednesday that it will no longer pay the roughly 5,000 people that temp agencies employ to help staff its idled plants in the region. The company will continue to provide benefits for the time being. Toyota's North American unit announced the cost-cutting move a day after Japanese peers Honda and Nissan said they would temporarily stop paying all staff at their idled U.S. plants and ask them to file for states' unemployment benefits. Honda's decision affects 16,900 employees, while Nissan said it will furlough roughly 10,000 workers. This whole thing is just really jacked up, and people out of work left and right, and don't know what to do. It's a true crisis for all of us. It's truly amazing to see.
I can hear you now.
It's truly amazing to see that we have no cars on the freeways per se. And grocery stores, I don't know what's going on at the grocery store. I keep waiting to run into a big line waiting outside the grocery store, and there's never a line outside the grocery store, and it's just weird inside with big sections of the grocery store with vacant shelves, nothing on them whatsoever. And then the following week, all that section is back, and then another
section's empty, right?
Have you been to the grocery store?
Oh, yeah. I stop at the grocery store a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And
thank you for the mask, by the way.
Well, that's Jeffrey.
Well, where's mine? You brought one for me.
This is yours.
Thank you.
It's yours.
All right.
Typically
Where's yours?
the paper section of the grocery store is empty. So paper towels, toilet paper, and I have truly no reason why.
I still don't understand that. Are people using more toilet paper these days? Seriously.
No.
I mean, I don't get it. I know that everybody's at home. So the toilet paper that they would use typically at work, they don't use. Now they're using it at home. I got that, but really? I mean,
it's a commodity that is made
so
just in time. It is a product that's not. You don't make a lot of money off. The manufacturers don't make a lot of money off it, and it's not a product that can be stockpiled because of the size. And you go to your Costco's and your Walmarts and your grocery stores, there's only limited space for that because it's a big product.
Well, what I have noticed, though, is, it used to be you could go in and you could buy the 12, 24, 36 packs of them.
Yeah.
No more. All they sell is the 4-pack of them. And I'm sure there's a profit margin that's a little bit better in the 4-pack, and it's a little harder to hoard it that way.
And they showed on the news just the other day the factory that makes it. And, they showed a guy pulling off a roll as a quality inspector, look.
Hey, what do you do?
I'm a toilet paper inspector. I think we might be ready to try Lynn.
You're lying. Lynn, are you there?
I am here. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you just great. And
nice.
Yeah. Do we have a video feed from Lynn as well, or no?
Yes.
We just got to look at ourselves.
We have the video feed.
Oh, that's good.
There she is.
Well,
hey, guys.
Hi, Lynn. How are you? Gosh, it's good to see you.
Good.
Well, good. I know that you've been in business up there on the northeast side of town, 1960-59, for how long now?
30 years.
You're not old enough to have been in business for 30 years.
I love the T-shirt. That was great.
Oh, thanks.
I didn't realize you were in business for 30 years. Congratulations. That's awesome. Says something.
Thank you.
Says a lot about how you treat your customers because, as you would know better than anybody else, some shops tend to come and go. Those that do a very good job of customer relations and quality of work, they last a long time. And 30 years with an automotive shop's a long time in business. Congratulations.
Well, thanks. I have to give every bit of credit to my staff. My dad taught me when I was pretty young to surround myself with people that are better than me, and it's worked.
Well,
you got us as friends. So what is that supposed to say?
We're on the low side of the list there.
I've been around you guys before.
Yes, you have, and I'm sorry. We apologize going in.
Did you get your shots?
I think the entire world, certainly our automotive community, has pulled together through all this, and we're all going to make it to the other side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely we will. And that's a lot of what we wanted to talk to you about is, customers, people who drive vehicles, or people in general, there's 3 things that are most important to them, and that's their health, or 4 things: their health, their family, their finances, and their transportation. And that's where we can help them on the transportation side with shops like yours.
Absolutely. Everyone depends on their transportation, especially here in the Houston area. You don't get very far without a good car. There's an awful lot of people that are having to make some probably interesting decisions right now that they wouldn't have made a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago. I think we're going to see that new car sales maybe are not quite as robust as they've been. And people are going to be more concerned about keeping their current vehicle safe and dependable.
And that's a good point. Some of the reason that the new car sales are going to fall off is just because you have to go to a dealership and there tends to be more people there, and they do want to keep their current vehicle maintained longer. And within that, as a shop owner, kind of the number one service everybody comes to a shop owner to get done is basically oil change and tire rotation.
Right, absolutely. Well, the oil change protects the most expensive component in your vehicle. So if your budget is changed, maybe you're having to really be careful about where you spend your pennies, you still want to get your oil change done.
And National Oil and Lube News, which is an industry magazine, said in 2019.
Wait a minute. There's a magazine called National Lube
Oil and Lube News.
Oh, you guys are bad. All right.
Yes. Don is horrible.
No, I'm not horrible. I mean, anybody that doesn't know anything that's not on an insider kind of list, who would know that?
I didn't say horrible. I just said you were bad boys.
No, he said horrible.
I said horrible.
That's a slippery subject.
Oh, God, you're okay. But, they said last year there were 448 million oil changes done in the United States by about 230 million cars. So roughly every car gets 2 oil changes a year. And for you guys there at Beckwith, not every car takes the same oil change.
No, most cars all take different oils these days. And a lot of customers are still confused. They sometimes don't want to pay, say, for synthetic oil, or they may not want to pay for some of the additives that really make a difference in the longevity of their vehicle as well. But it's an education system. It's something that when somebody comes to your counter, no matter what shop you go to, whoever's there needs to take the time to explain to you what you really need for your vehicle, not to push it at you, not to twist your arm, but just to help you understand your vehicle so you service it properly.
Well, one of the things that is a news story this week is the fact that Nissan is in deep trouble to begin with. And they have just announced this week that they are looking at projecting selling 1 million less vehicles company-wide with that brand, the Nissan brand, this year. And they're thinking about scaling back for the long term, 1 million. In other words, not going to sell them as many, 1 million, as they have in the past. That's huge. So what that tells me, and I'm sure it tells everybody, that when we come out of this, we're not going to be lining up at the car dealership to buy a new car. We're all going to be looking at trying to get our cars keep running for the rest of our lives, probably.
Now, I agree with you. I think that when you look back through history and you look at, say, 9/11, and the impact that had on consumer purchasing, the fear it created, we all kept our pocketbooks a little bit tighter. There's so much fear already. If this virus has been anything, it's been a lesson in what fear does to behaviors, especially here in America. I'm sure probably worldwide, but we see it here. It's going to be a while before everybody feels comfortable not having a reasonable savings. Is it going to hit us again next year? There's just going to be a lot of uncertainty. There'll be a couple years before people start to loosen up again.
How has your business been? I mean, obviously you've got to be down because people aren't driving their cars.
Yeah, we definitely are. I think that, of course, we're doing everything we can to make automotive repair convenient. Now, we do that all the time, but I think it's even more important right now. So we're doing things like picking up and delivering vehicles. We have a completely no-contact oil change. Beckwith's Car Care is home of the no-contact oil change. So you can come in. You don't even have to come in the building. We'll handle everything via phone, text, and email. We do digital inspections. So when the vehicle is being serviced, no matter what it's in for, you get a text with a link that has a really long checklist of all the different things on your vehicle, including pictures. And this isn't just, this is bad, we want to sell you something. This is most everything on your vehicle. So you can see that your brake pads are still good. You can see they're green. The history stays with us for 5 years. So as you service your vehicle repeatedly, say every 6 months, kind of like going to the dentist office, you know what your vehicle's health is and how to plan. And I think planning is going to be what a lot of us need to do in all aspects of life.
Yeah, and you know what's my daughter, as a matter of fact, who lives in Denver. I went up there to visit her at the end of July of last year. I was talking to her yesterday, and I said, "Have you changed that oil since I was up there last?"
What
and
oil?
she said, "Well, you know, she doesn't drive very far. I don't know, maybe 10 miles to work, and it's not on the freeway. It's on surface streets to get to her office." And I would imagine that a lot of people are that way. A lot of people live close to work, and
especially now.
And I told, especially now. And I told her, I said, well, you know, baby, that it's not just a mileage thing; it's also a timed thing
and a temperature thing, because the short run customers that don't get their vehicle up to full operating temperature for a period of time really hurt the oil worse, because they never get it up hot enough to evaporate the moisture out of it. So those customers that do those very short runs actually stress the oil more than customers that do long runs. Wouldn't you agree, Lynn?
Frequently, they stress the whole vehicle more. You know, sometimes you deal with flat tires from sitting too long. You deal with, if you're driving a diesel, you deal with some regeneration issues. So, certainly there are problems that come no matter from driving too much, too little, or just normal driving here in Houston is pretty severe.
Outside of an oil change, what's the most common thing that you deal with on cars that come in for service?
Check engine light. Some sort of a dash malfunction light is probably the most common complaint or issue that you see in vehicles. And a lot of consumers are really frightened when the check engine light comes on. They think it's going to be this huge repair, and sadly, sometimes it is. But a whole lot of the time, it's something pretty simple, or it's a general maintenance item. It's something that isn't nearly as scary as that light flashing in your face seems.
But the variance of what can cause that light to come on can be pretty wide-ranging.
It's incredible.
Particularly if, and I'm just going to use my wife as an example, she knows a little bit about cars, not a lot. And when that light comes on to her, that means it's something serious. So she gets a little more concerned than what I might if I'm doing my normal speed down the freeway.
Because it means not a new pair of shoes next week.
Wait. You do normal speed?
The speed I normally drive.
The speed I normally drive.
And the car doesn't slow down or anything. Nothing happens. Just the light comes on. Well, I'm okay. You know, I'm just going to keep booking it. But she gets a little upset and she starts slowing down. And
get a little anxious about that light being on. And there's good reason to it, because if that light's on because of a misfire in the car, that can
it's flashing.
It's flashing. It can quickly lead to a catalytic converter failure, because all of a sudden...
Wait a minute. You mean a check engine light can flash?
Yes.
It can. Yeah, no, we get phone calls all the time. My check engine light's on. I'm about 20 miles from you. Is it okay if we drive it in? And if it's just on, or maybe it's coming on and off intermittently, you're fine. Drive it. You could even drive it for a little while and figure out a good, convenient time to bring it in. But if that check engine light is flashing, pull over, stop, call us. Let's get a tow truck. Let's not damage your catalytic converters, especially.
Well, I just learned something new today.
There you go.
Thank God I haven't had a flashing check engine light on.
I haven't either.
Yeah. Well, and it's, different lights do different things. There's the brake light can come on yellow, or the brake light can come on, or the ABS light can come on yellow, or the ABS light can flash. Same thing. When it flashes, it's time to go get it serviced immediately.
Lynn, what do you think about these do-it-yourself engine diagnostic tools that you plug in for yourself, and it reads a code for you?
Well, I think that for some people, in some instances, they're helpful. So if you think back, we're all probably about the same age. You think back to when we first entered the industry and we were starting to mess with cars. You could smell, see, hear, go to an auto parts store and say, my car is doing this, and probably narrow it down to a couple of things.
Right.
Nowadays, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that code that comes out when you check it, especially with a generic scanner, is so generic. I mean, it doesn't give you enough information to accurately diagnose. We had somebody come in the shop just last week, and they had already replaced about $500 worth of parts, trying to fix it based on what a simple scan had told them. And there's value sometimes in a simple scan. If nothing else, it'll let you determine if the vehicle's safe to drive, maybe get an idea of how urgent the situation is. But for the most part, it's not conclusive enough to start spending hundreds of dollars on parts.
Right. And just bringing it in and having the part store come out and scan a code and then make a recommended part replacement for you is not a good way to work on and diagnose your car. That's
Not
why.
much- Yeah.
That's why you spend a lot of time getting your technicians trained. They take some training from us. They take some training from you. They take training from other vendors you have as well. All of that training helps them jump in to diagnose and figure out what's going on.
It does. There's a lot of information involved. Most shops these days, if you're going to a good shop, they're buying subscriptions to at least 2, possibly 3 or 4 different data sources, and they're buying factory level tools so that we can pinpoint exactly what's happening on a Ford, exactly what's happening on a GM vehicle, or especially when you start dealing with the European vehicles. Sometimes there's information that you need to be able to control, and you also need to be able to test. And the proper diagnostic equipment will send signals to different sensors. It'll help you determine whether or not it's a connector or if it's actually the component itself that's failed. Ultimately, that usually $100-ish diagnostic charge that a good shop charges goes a really long way in saving you a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's just a code reader. What you're talking about, some of the European stuff, you may spend as a shop owner, you may spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 investment in buying that tool to work on a BMW.
Oh, absolutely. And even the individual technicians, I think that's something a lot of people in the general public don't understand is the investment that these techs make to be able to work on their vehicles. It's their toolboxes are big because there's a lot of tools in there.
And it's a never-ending investment because as the 2021s come out, they're going to need something that is required on a 2021 that they didn't need for a 2020. And that's actually very common in the industry to have to upgrade your tools endlessly.
Well, in 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, we bought our information in books. So we had these vast libraries of these, like this thick
service manuals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, service manuals all over the place. And you could go a year or two with the same manuals before you updated. Nowadays, you can barely make it the year to the next year's updates without needing that information that comes out in the interim. So then there's other sources you subscribe to, and it all costs money.
Yep.
And I bet the technicians spend as much time on the computer as they do under the hood sometimes.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And a good technician will, because they not only the computer as far as trying to diagnose what's going on with the car, but the computer to find information to help them diagnose what's going on in the car.
Right.
Absolutely. And a good technician isn't going to throw parts at your car. They typically look at what they determine is wrong as being a very important decision. They don't want to come back up and say, that took care of half the problem, or gee, I was wrong, that didn't take care of the problem, now we need to do this. Sometimes that happens, but most of them, that hurts their feelings.
Right.
They don't want to be there.
Yeah, comebacks are not something in the industry anybody strives to perform, so everybody wants to do it right the first time.
Listen, Ray gets his feelings hurt all the time, so you just got to be careful.
I have a question. I want to know what kind of drum kit that is behind you.
What kind of what?
Jeff's a drummer.
Yeah, what kind of drum kit is that behind you?
Oh, you know what? That is actually my son is a classical guitarist. I'm in his music room, but I could look.
No, I think we're okay. Well, we were thinking that maybe you could get back there and knock out a little tune for us or something.
It has a DW on it.
Oh,
so
I love
sorry.
it. Mine is too. Yeah,
DW.
It's the Darrell Waltrip.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
it's Drum Workshop.
Now the piano in the corner, that one's mine, but I can't take credit for the rest of the musical instruments.
Nicely done.
Well, Lynn, it's great to talk to you. Hey, can you stick around for a little while, or can we call you right back?
I'd love to. Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, it's great to have you with us. Lynn Beckwith with Beckwith's Car Care on the line with us. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back right after a quick message for you.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. More info at coronavirus.gov. let's all do our part. Because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You know, I'm going to pat myself on the back and say, dang, Don, you did a good job with that music. I'm just saying. Huh?
Yes, you did.
Hello? What?
You did a great job with that music,
Thank
Don.
you. I just wanted to make sure that I was hearing that correctly.
We're reading from the script he wrote for us.
No, I'm not. Yeah, we're right. All right. So, do we have Jeff ready now?
We hope so.
Oh God! You know, this is why we have Jeff in the house so frequently, is because he's kind of been our guinea pig and trying to get this setup correct. So we're able to take phone calls, which Jeff is going to call us from the back patio where he has this wonderful display.
All right, let's go to him.
Can we do that right now?
We just did.
All right, Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh,
Very
my God.
good. Oh, wow, it worked.
Hang on a minute. Let me.
We're going to go full screen on you, Jeff.
Oh, God.
How do I look now?
It's full nude.
Well, we just totally lost you for a second. We can hear you.
There he is. He's there.
All right,
there we go.
Show us what you want to show us out there, Jeffrey.
There we go. Am I on?
You are
on.
It's a scary thing, but
whether you like it or not.
Okay, well, this is what we got. So far as the tire segment, the remote part of it, I wanted to show a few things that folks can either keep in their car or keep in their toolbox or somewhere handy that they can have accessible to check their tires. And I've got David, my handy assistant, is operating the camera phone. What we have here, just some basic tools for your tires. You've got gauges of different sorts. Obviously, you can pick your favorite one of what you do, either Ford, General Motors. There's a GM one there, there's a Ford there. I prefer a heavier weight stick gauge, and that's what these are. These are stick gauges. Heavier weight to me, just it
pencil gauges.
When you're doing the tire check. So, and there's a couple you find these also. Put in the tire pressure, and it pops up at this end here and gives you the reading in PSI, pounds per square inch. The way to sort of be comfortable with it is when you do have a gauge and you put it on the tire, and of course it reads 32 pounds. The stick does come out sometimes. The stick will come out. It'll read 32. You can put it in and then try it again. If it reads 32, then you're fairly accurate. If it comes up 10 and reads 40 and 50 and it's all over the board,
so you need
not an accurate stick.
So you need to check it a couple of times just to make sure.
Yeah, check it a couple of times and then get more familiar with it. And like I said, the heavier the one, I like a heavier one to work with. And then you can get into something like this, which is a little bit more complicated. This is for airing up a tire, not necessarily checking it, but you can check it once you air it up. Put it in here through the compressor, and this does pop out under pressure, and it gives you the reading this way. You can get into some very high-tech stuff.
Yeah, that one's a little bit more like what you find at the gas station when you have to pay $1 to put air in your car.
Right, or a technician may have this, plugged into their nozzle or their pull radius. Didn't get up in hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. NASCAR uses them; they're several hundred to $1,000. You'll find them like in the airports where they check the airplane tires are very high-tech stuff as well, because they use nitrogen in NASCAR, nitrogen in airlines. So, in fact, in cars, there's a car right here. If you want to pan down, this little thing here, whatever you want to call that, Don's car, it probably has nitrogen tires in it. We're going to run out to Mike's vehicle out front and give you an example of what you can look for on a tire.
Okay, you're going to go.
Okay, while we do that, we'll come back to Don and let you get on the move. And
why are you going to come back to me? Did I have? Well, I can do this. I mean, sure.
There's a for sale sign on your Corvette, Don.
Yeah, I know. Jeff happened to bring that over this morning.
So the first person,
and I made an offer for it.
So the first person with $500 cash can take it.
Yeah. Well, $500 cash and something else, because it's going to be a little bit more than $500 cash. I know that I'm cheap, but not quite that cheap.
You're frugal.
No.
You're cheap?
Well,
cheap's a good word.
Yeah, I think cheap was the right word.
Yeah, because I was looking through your liquor cabinet here, and all of the wine you have has a screw on top.
That's the ones that aren't in the box.
The boxed wine. What was that? Franzia.
That was the first one, yeah.
Yes. Franzia Box 1. I knew somebody that liked that stuff. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I knew somebody that liked that stuff. But apparently a lot of people do.
All right, Jeff's all set up to go again. Tell us, Jeff.
Yeah, we're out here at the in-wheel time machine, hot rod. And what we're going to do is take a look at these tires here that are on this vehicle. And what I've done is I've pre-marked some of the things to look for. Here across the front tread of the tire, the face of the tire, you'll see that right in here is the wear bar. This is basically at 2/30 seconds of the tread life left. So if you're looking at these the actual tread of maybe 7/30 seconds, when it gets down to this 2/30 seconds, that means they're pretty much done. Where we're at pretty much there right now. The way to check these, the way to check these is inside, middle, and outside to get a good cross reference of what to do on what the reading is. So with this particular one, this is at 4:30 seconds. This here, the middle is at 4:30 seconds, and of course the outside is at 4:30 seconds. And the way this reads on this stick, you'll see that in the green area, it goes from about 6:30 seconds up to a full 23, 30 in that area where the tread depth is there. Anything below that, you're marginal, you're yellow, cautionary, and then of course below that into the 2 and the 1, it's pretty bad. It's detrimental. You need to change the tires. The other part of this is on the sidewall. If maybe we can kind of go around here, we'll switch places. On the sidewall, we keep talking about birth dates of the tire. What I've done is I found the DOT code. Now, this code is for Department of Transportation purposes on what the tire compound is, when it was made, where it was made. But this here specifically is the date. Not sure if you can see that or not. This here says 0314. So that's the 3rd week of 2014 when this tire was made. This tire is over 6 years old.
That tire's shot is what it is.
It looks like it's had some pretty good life, though. The tread pattern does look even across. And if you had an uninflated tire, it would be cupped in the middle. It would be less tread here than on the outside. It would be less tread on the inside if it was overinflated rather than underinflated would be on the outside. So looking at that, it looks like it's had some pretty good life. You can see on the side here, you got some cracks. We talked last week about sunburn or stress cracks. That's what this has here. These are not detrimental. It just shows that this tire is old and getting older by the minute. Here you have your particular size of the tire. This is a P, which is a passenger rated tire. LT would mean light truck. So you're looking at a 275 passenger tire. The 275, if you can see this, David, is from edge tread block to edge tread block, here to here in millimeters. So it's 275 millimeters from tread block to tread block edge. The 60 would be the percentage of sidewall to the tread itself, to the 275 percentage of the width. So it's 275, 60%, and of course 20 would be the diameter of the rim itself. So that's pretty much basically what you look for. There are other things on the tire. You're looking at tread wear is a 500. You're looking at traction is A, temperature is B. Traction is a fairly decent traction for a passenger tire, the P rated, and of course the traction is A. The tread wear is 500 is good. The traction is A, which is a good traction tire for a passenger. And then of course on the last one here, the temperature would be a B rated. That's pretty much average for that particular tire.
Do they even sell white lettered tires anymore?
You can't get white letter. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Do they sell 4-inch white walls anymore?
Yeah, you're probably looking at Coker, some vintage stuff.
Why are you in the market for so much?
I think they'd look cool on Mars's truck.
I think that they would look cool on your van.
Oh no, on my van, yes, not on the Rally. Please,
they
not
do
on the
make
Rally.
rims that have the white wall built into the rim, and the tires are really thin. It's a little bit different look, a little bit different performing tire as well. This is pretty standard. This is a standard tire for either a truck like this is on or a passenger vehicle, an everyday vehicle.
So what has he got? What has he got? Maybe about 4 more months left on that. 6 more months left on that tread.
Months? It could be hours.
Hours. That's it.
Well, Jeff, a question. Would that pass state inspection right now?
I missed what you said.
Would that pass state inspection?
Probably not. That's depending on what the gauge is and who's reading the gauge and the quality of shop that it's doing. I would say no, it would not. I would hopefully it would not pass. I mean, for safety's sake, they would say no. There are some places that might let it get away. Now that's just one tire. There's 3 others plus a spare on this vehicle. So you could go a little bit deeper and check all 4. You could take an average. You could give it a percentage of how many miles are left on it, which is probably about another. I want to say maybe 2,000 to 3,000 miles left on it.
Mars, you in the market for some new tires?
Yeah, actually I am.
So if any of our listeners out there,
oh God, don't you start begging again for tires?
No.
Yeah,
I had some. Jeff helped me pick out some.
Yeah,
and then all this lockdown started, so I really haven't been. There's only 2 places around me that are open that sells tires, and everybody else is closed.
Let me tell you something. Between here and Neaterville, there's probably about 100 tire shops we could pick along the way.
Yeah, probably.
Just saying.
I shop local.
Jeffrey, come back in the house. Thank you so much. It's
okay. Allowing me back in. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. Lock the door. Just lock the dang door. Don't let him in. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we have got more of the In Wheel Time program, the car show that you all love, and we love it too. So stay with us. We're going to be right back in just a second.
911, what's your emergency?
God, there's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would he do that? The train still doesn't stop. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
It's the In Wheel Time program, car shows. This is what we talk about, and we're so glad that you could join us on this Saturday. We try to be live every Saturday at noon to 2, and so if you're watching this on a playback somewhere, either on YouTube, Periscope, or Facebook, well, thank you for watching, but we're not live now. But we are live now if you're watching live now. Does any of that make any sense? Probably not. I think I probably screwed that all up and confused more people than I actually informed. But that's my nature, and that's why I'm here. So we're going to go back to Lynn Beckwith, who's been hanging on. Beckwith Car Care up there off of 1960, just east of 59, the East Tex Freeway here in the Houston area. And she really made it a point to bring out to all of us that they've been in business for 30 years, and she's got a T-shirt. And I'm thinking maybe she could do a little T-shirt giveaway. I'd like to have one of those, 30 years at Beckwith. What do you think, Lynn? Is she with us? Huh?
Yep. Yeah, I had a little trouble hearing you, though. Yeah, we do have T-shirts at the shop. I should probably be doing a toilet paper giveaway, huh?
Oh, my God. Winner.
Winner.
Yeah, you could probably get an 18-wheeler full of toilet paper and be a big hit up there, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah, you get a free roll of toilet paper with every oil change.
Right. No, we're limited to the T-shirts and coffee mugs.
T-shirts and coffee mugs. Okay, well, we'll take one of each. We talked about some of the most common things. Obviously, the oil changes obviously are what really bring people in to your shop. And check engine lights. Do you ever have any alternators go bad, or some of the old common stuff that we're familiar with back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. The electrical systems are very demanding these days. And in the climate that most of our listeners are in, batteries only last for about 33 months on average, so less than 3 years. And when your battery starts to fail, it puts an extra drain on your alternator. And so with all the complex electronics in your vehicle, it becomes more important to keep those items maintained. And we do see failures, probably not as many years ago. I can remember it never failed on a Friday afternoon. Somebody would come in needing an alternator at about 4 or 5 o'clock, and it's a simple job, and you thought you could get it done, and then that's when something happens. But so alternators do still fail.
And when you trade out alternators, do you give an option of a rebuilt or a brand new one, or do you just always recommend a brand new one?
No, sometimes the rebuilt is still a good option. It really depends on who's rebuilding it too. You want to always buy quality parts, and in the last decade, that has become more and more difficult. A lot of the parts manufacturers use names like professional on their lowest portion of the line. And so that's another thing you need to rely on your mechanic and your automotive shop to give you good advice on, to tell you what some parts price does make a difference. Some parts it's worth paying that extra, typically 20 to 30% for a higher quality part. Other times they're pretty generic. We see that in some of the harder parts, like say brake rotors.
And well, if Don will pop me up here.
You're on.
And one of the things about that as well is some of the very vehicle-specific electronic parts, you probably want to use the manufacturer's part as well.
There's many parts. A starter, we see a wide variety. I'm amazed actually at the number of 20 to 35-year-olds that come in and they're learning to make their own decisions. Now, we frequently get a parent that will call ahead of time and say, Sue is bringing in her car. Can you deal with her, but text me or call me and let me know what's going on? So they're using automotive repair as a way to help some of these new drivers and younger people grow up and make good decisions. They'll have a shop that they can trust and get the information too, so that if they know that their youngster is not getting taken advantage of.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because I was talking to my 27-year-old that's living in Denver now. The car is hers, and it's her responsibility. And so through Conrad, I helped her set up a place that she can go to in Denver that she I'm sorry.
Well, you have confidence in it that way. If you can check it out ahead of time, of course, Google reviews have changed our world from finding restaurants to finding shops. It's you can get a lot better concept of what that shop really does.
And that's the importance of your happy customers giving you a Google review, because the mad ones always do.
Right. Yeah, there's usually two extremes. You don't get a lot in the middle. But that's another important part about the communication. If you walk in a shop and you aren't comfortable with what they're telling you, trust your gut. There's a reason that you're not understanding or that they're not explaining everything. A good shop is going to really help you explain. I hate those signs that you see in some shops that say customers not allowed beyond this point due to insurance regulations, which is a bunch of hogwash in my opinion. I haven't met an insurance company yet that has told me I cannot take my customer back and show them what's going on with their vehicle. Now, mechanics don't like to work when there's a lot of customers around, and I don't think it's safe for them to do work while there's extra people in the shop. It's a dangerous environment, but if you want to see what's going on under your car,
ask.
It's cool
Right.
to go out and see a car on a lift and actually see what's underneath. And a lot of people never see that perspective. When Jeff was talking about tires, we get cars up on the lift that if you inspected those tires on the ground just walking around your vehicle, you're not going to see where you've got a belt showing on the inside. So getting up underneath the car is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. Lynn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it. We love you, and we wish you the best through this hard time. And let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you, and stay in touch with us, and we'll be in touch with you.
What's your phone number out there, Lynn?
It's 281-540-2000. We're just 1 mile east of Highway 59 on FM 1960 in Humble.
Beckwith
And thank you,
Carkill.
guys.
Thanks again, Lynn. We really appreciate it. Great to talk to her, as always. And it's great to have you with us here on the In Wheel Time radio program. We've got a couple of things that we need to get in. One is Ram Tracks and Jeep Trails. Mr. Rars, are you prepared to do that or no?
Almost.
He's almost prepared to do that. We're right on top of things here at the In Wheel Time radio program. I know that he's been busy over there dealing with all the technical stuff.
We doing Ram Tracks?
It doesn't make any difference. Take your pick.
Just pick one.
Yeah, just go for it.
So with Ram Tracks, one of the things that we've talked about in the past with all the technology is that 12-inch navigation screen. I mean, you can get that as an option on the new Ram trucks. 12-inch. It's largest in the class. customizable home screen. You can do a split screen, pinch and zoom, all the feature functions that you do with your smartphone, basically, you can do with this thing. And I had it for a week once, and it literally was so cool to have the nav system up in the top half of the screen, and then you could go down into the bottom of it. Your text would come in, and it would tell you what your text says. You could respond to the text and never do any of that without touching the screen. I mean, you didn't have to. Yeah, it was voice activated. And then if you wanted to change your audio, you could have that in the bottom and have your radio there and all the great things that you want out of the audio system there from the Uconnect. And then on the top half, still keep your nav up there as big as what it would be in any other vehicle. It's really cool. It's something that if I get the opportunity, I will have one. Bigger is always better.
Hey, I wonder if you could retrofit one of those with a Sawzall. You can do anything.
Well, I'm going to check into that because my 2015 that I've upgraded from my 26 has got a nice screen in it.
Did you trade the maroon one in for the white one?
I sold it to my son.
Okay, sold it to your son. All
Yeah.
right, so it's still in the family.
Right.
Does your son know what he's gotten himself into?
He's called me a few times.
I'll bet he has.
Yeah. When you only put like 5,000 miles a year on it, sometimes things don't get done like they probably should.
A Sawzall and a soldering iron, you can do anything.
There you go. And some duct tape.
Duct tape.
Tell that to my proctologist.
Gorilla tape.
Ooh, I don't even want to think about it.
No, we're not going there.
All right, so that's Ram Trucks. What about Jeep Trails? You know, there doesn't anything say that we can't run these back to back.
Yes, we have that.
As soon as he shuffles the paper to find it, yeah.
No, and again, it kind of fell into the same pattern as far as technology goes in the new Jeeps, particularly the Wrangler, whenever you can get the new screen and the new Uconnect system on it. So you can do it, your passengers can do it, but you've got a 4G LTE Wi-Fi system hotspot there, and it will actually handle 8 devices up to 50 feet around your vehicle.
8?
That's what it says. I haven't tried tying 8 into it. So you don't have to be sitting right there in the seat. So, and I think, we're down at the beach. All the grandkids are out there and everybody wants to check their mail or something. They don't have to go get in the vehicle. They can be up to 50 feet away from it, and they can still pop the Wi-Fi.
I wonder if they could do a better job on the Jeep than we can.
the same thing.
Maybe we can get Kimberly to let us put one in the backyard.
I was thinking the same thing. Oh my! It would have been great if we had one of those.
Yeah.
I absolutely love how quickly this show can go right off the rails. But I like it. It's charming in its own sick way. All right, quick break. We're going to try to get our act together here and figure out what we're going to do next because I don't particularly know. Stay with us.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the In Real Time radio program. And
white walls on their vehicles. It actually became standard on many cars through the 50s and 60s. And think about that. Was it the 53, 54 Corvette came standard with white walls on?
Yes, correct.
And how iconic is that car? Right. And those white walls have gone from a big wide white to a very narrow white to there was a red stripe tire.
I've had some
back in the 60s.
I actually had a bowling ball that had a red stripe on it too. I did. I swear to God, I did.
So also this week in automotive history, in 1941 was,
I believe you.
Don the Snake Perdome was born in
1912?
in San Fernando, California, in 1941. Now, in 1922, Sig Heyerdahl drove the Wisconsin Special. I thought you would love this, Don. Drove the Wisconsin Special and set a land speed record in 1922 of 180 miles an hour on the sands of Daytona Beach. Now, you got to think, that is before hard helmets. That is before seat belts and roll cages.
Or common sense.
At 180 miles an hour.
And guess where he was from?
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Well, he was lucky enough because he was a cheesehead.
He lived down the street from Don.
He didn't need a helmet.
Getting back to Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford actually bought a rubber plantation in South America so that he could have his own avenue for tires.
Okay,
and
I didn't realize
I believe
that.
it's called Fordlandia or something like that. It was
Henry did a lot of things that he owned. The vendor provided to him as well.
Henry turned out to be a very strange duck, to be honest with you.
Well, it was also this week where the original Henry Ford passed away.
He didn't have it for long because of internal fightings and wars and stuff going on, and he didn't want to really pay the people to do the work, so he got rid of it.
Not surprising. In 2005, the MG Rover Group collapsed under $1.7 billion worth of debt and a loss of more than 5,000 jobs this week. So you think about $1.7 billion worth of debt, that ain't nothing compared to what's going on today.
You say that was Nissan?
MG.
Oh, okay.
We don't know about what's about to happen with Nissan. And then I thought this was kind of, do you remember the Honda FCX Clarity?
I do not.
No. It was the first hydrogen-powered fuel cell vehicle to make mass production. And it won the World Green Car at the New York Auto Show in 2009.
Huh.
And it doesn't exist anymore. The car is gone from production. So, yes, they did have a hydrogen fuel cell powered car, which, now it's all about EVs. Well, all the manufacturers are still playing around with fuel cell.
Forward to anymore on this show because, I get my hopes dashed rather easily these days. Somebody says, oh, we can do this. Okay, well, let's do that.
Sure, we can.
And then it turns out, no, we can't do that. You promised you could do that. I was just teasing.
We never promise anything. We just think we can do things, and we're in uncharted territory.
So would you please jot this down and remember this? He said that. And we're going to hold his feet to the fire.
To the uncharted territory? Absolutely.
Uncharted territory. Wasn't the SS Minnow?
For a 3-hour tour, but this is only a 2-hour show.
Exactly. That's where we're going, fellas.
We got to hang out and drink for an hour after this.
Oh, Lord.
I want mine in a coconut glass.
We have the professor over here and David Maines. And we got Marianne.
I'm just going to say
Marianne right here. I guess that makes me the skipper.
I'll be Gilly.
Our show. Kind of like, do you remember the Roseanne show that used to be on years ago?
Yes.
And they pulled that big stunt off always on Halloween and, had somebody's head on the table and then opened the lid and there they would be. I think that we need to work toward that on this show.
Gosh.
We can do that.
I think it would be and we could take recommendations from our listeners and viewers that, what would you like to see on the Halloween show? And is any kind of
legally? I think our viewers and listeners are just as weird as we are.
Because we're not involved with the FCC any longer, so it doesn't have to be legal.
Oh,
it
boy.
could be. Think of
boy.
all the other illegal things that are on the internet these days. We could join that. There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Nope.
Well. Great,
but
thank you.
We'll all be quiet at that point because our minds are going places we don't want to talk about.
That's why I've been quiet.
I'm just about ready to finish this thing up. How about you?
Well, I think we're getting close to it.
So what are we going to talk about next week? I don't even know what car I have next week, to be honest with you. I haven't looked that far.
I'm going to be talking about the Toyota RAV4 TRD.
I guess they're taking the TRD across all their lines.
I think particularly all the truck and CUV and SUV gets.
But you had the Camry TRD a couple of weeks
ago.
ago.
I did.
Oh, that's right.
It was a good-looking car.
Yeah, but the only problem is, if you're going to call it a sports kind of thing,
Toyota
Racing Development, which TRD allegedly stands for.
Put some horsepower.
Then do something to the motor. Just don't stick a regular motor in it. I mean, put an exhaust and intake, nothing else. Dress up the engine
Put a
compartment.
little juice to it.
Yeah.
Something.
Charge an extra $1,000.
Besides just a graphics
Whatever.
package.
Yeah.
But the RAV4's got a few things on the inside of it, and we'll talk about that.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of disappointing in the fact that they don't do anything more than that.
I saw the commercial Mike did on YouTube with the Lexus, the F model.
F Sport.
Yeah. I think Don had that like a few weeks ago.
And I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but we don't want everybody to know that.
That's the F-bomb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pay no attention.
F4, sorry. So I guess you're going to have to come back again next week, and we're going to try again to have you.
To entertain you.
We're going to try to entertain you and actually get you on the air when we want to be on the air with you. So we're going to try that again.
We're going to.
I don't know what we're going to do actually.
No, what we're going to do when we
But
get through here.
guaranteed we'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to try to have a good time. So.
And thanks to everybody joining in today.
Any more shout-outs?
Well, Gina Child Knowles, bless her heart. I mean, she has been just so patient with us, and thank you, Gina. We love you. Texas Short Track Racing Series, Playland Park, Myers Speedway Facebook page, all of that. So, yeah, there's that. All right, well, I guess it's time to say goodbye to all our something friends.
Another live episode of In Wheel Time.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today's In Wheel Time online car show. Hey, when you're on Facebook, please give us a like. You'll get Conrad's unicorn hunting features, which you'll love, along with all things automotive. And while you're there, sign up for our feeds on Twitter, Instagram, Stitcher, Podcast Arena, YouTube, InWheelTime.com, etc., etc. Oh, and don't forget up Periscope, or just Periscope. Special thanks again to our in-house guest, Lynn Beckwith with Beckwith's Car Care, and Jeff Zekin from the Playboy Club. The In-Wheel Time Chief Engineer is the fabulous David Ainsley. For Mike Out of This World, Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeff Zekin, I'm Don Armstrong saying so long for now. We hope you'll join us live every Saturday, noon to 2, right here. Thanks for being a part of the In-Wheel Time family. Have a great week. Stay fabulous and sanitary like you know you want to be.